Everyone knows Whitney Houston, a musical icon of the 90s, with a unique and powerful voice that sold over 200 million records worldwide. But few know the woman behind the pop diva. Beneath the lights and spotlights hides the drama of a young African-American woman from Newark who did everything to escape the ghetto and succeed in music. Along the way, there were many hits, but also violent and depressive episodes that brought the diva down. Behind her brilliant career was a devastating personal battle, the fight against drug addiction. Whitney's story is not just a chronicle of the rise and fall of a star, but also a reflection on the dangers of fame, the stress of the music industry, and the internal demons that are often hidden behind the mask of success. From the very beginning of her career, Whitney stood out not only for her incredible vocal talent, but also for her ability to emotionally connect with her audience. Her voice, powerful and melodic, catapulted her to the top of international music. Whatever the origin of Whitney's drug use, over the years, the veil began to lift. There were misperformances, erratic behavior during interviews, and a noticeable change in her appearance. The elasticity and timbre of her voice, which had once been her trademark, also began to falter, probably due to a combination of cocaine and tobacco use. A particularly sad but revealing moment occurred during her infamous interview with Diane Sawyer in 2002, where Whitney frankly admitted, "The biggest devil is me. I am either my best friend or my worst enemy." Whitney's drug use didn't come out of nowhere, but was linked to a combination of factors: the pressure of the industry, the expectations of the public, and a personal predisposition to face emotional struggles. Fame, while offering great advantages, also imposes a huge burden. The constant public scrutiny can affect anyone's mental health. Whitney, like many other public figures, suffered the constant pressure of maintaining a perfect image, which may have been a trigger for her problems with drugs. The first clear sign of her struggle with drugs appeared in the 1990s, when her behavior started to become erratic, and her performances began to show signs of fatigue, disorientation, and lack of concentration. The singer faced a turbulent private life, marked by her relationship with Bobby Brown, who also had a history of substance abuse. The relationship, which initially seemed like a love story and mutual support, turned increasingly toxic and destructive. The combination of professional and personal pressures, along with the influence of her surroundings, led her into a spiral of addiction. Cocaine was one of the drugs Whitney used most throughout her life. Her public images began to change, and what was once a peak-performing artist transformed into a more fragile, almost unrecognizable figure due to the effects of the substances. In several interviews, Whitney openly spoke about her addiction to drugs, which created a stark contrast to her public image. Her struggle with cocaine not only affected her physical health, but also harmed her voice, one of the most beautiful and powerful of her generation. The substances altered her vocal ability, making it difficult for her to deliver performances that had once catapulted her to stardom. Alcohol and pills also played a significant role in her battle with addiction. These substances were a dangerous mix that altered not only her behavior, but also her perception of reality. Whitney's addiction was not an isolated phenomenon, but a long process that consumed her over several years. Relapses were frequent, and rehabilitation attempts did not have the expected impact. Each time she seemed to be on the road to recovery, a new obstacle would plunge her back into the world of drugs. It was a destructive cycle that seemed impossible to break. The addiction affected not only her career, but also her personal life. As her problems intensified, Whitney distanced herself from those who loved her most, including her family and friends. Her relationship with Bobby Brown deteriorated further, and the marriage ended in 2007. Meanwhile, the world watched as one of the most notable voices in international music went through her worst moments. Whitney's fame, which once allowed her to conquer the global stage, now seemed like a burden she could no longer bear. Numerous reports suggest that some people in her inner circle and close acquaintances played a role in sustaining her cocaine addiction, perhaps due to the pressure, fear of losing their position, or misplaced loyalty. However, it is also essential to highlight that many loved ones tried to intervene and pull Whitney from her destructive path. It's said that her mother, Whitney Houston, was one of the most persistent figures who attempted several interventions. Yet, despite repeated rehab attempts, Whitney never overcame her addiction. The press, always hungry for scandalous stories, didn't help in her fight. Constant leaks about her private life, health problems, and drug use only increased the pressure on Whitney. Public appearances and interviews became more spaced out. And when she did appear, the media focused on her physical deterioration. Images of the singer looking frail, with noticeable weight loss and a tired face, began to circulate indiscriminately, feeding the narrative of a star's collapse. However, what many didn't understand was that Whitney wasn't simply a star destroying herself, but a person trapped in the whirlwind of addiction, a cycle that few managed to break. In the midst of her suffering, Whitney continued to try to make a comeback. In 2009, she released a new album that was well received by critics, showing glimpses of the singer everyone knew and loved. But even though her talent remained intact, the effects of the drugs were already evident. Her voice, though still powerful, had lost some of its characteristic timbre and vibrato. Despite her recovery efforts, difficulties continued, and relapses became more frequent. Her live performances became difficult to watch, as she could not remain stable on stage, and her health continued to deteriorate. Whitney's family, especially her mother, Whitney Houston, was also involved in her life during her struggle with addiction. Sissy was an important figure in Whitney's life, a protective mother who tried to keep her daughter away from the temptations that had ensnared her. However, despite the efforts of her loved ones, Whitney's addiction proved stronger than any intervention. Her problems were so deep that even rehab seemed to offer no final solution. Visits to treatment centers were part of her life for years, but there was always something that dragged her back to drugs. Whitney Houston's death in 2012 at the age of 48 was a tragedy that shook the world. The singer was found dead in the bathtub of her hotel room at the Beverly Hilton Hotel in Los Angeles on the eve of the Grammy Awards. The cause of death was determined to be accidental drowning, with contributing factors being heart disease and cocaine use. While her death marked the end of a life full of talent and tragedy, it was also the sad conclusion of a battle she had been fighting for over 2 decades. Drug addiction was a key factor in Whitney Houston's downfall. Despite her moments of brilliance, the battle against substances never fully ceased. Years of cocaine, alcohol, and pill abuse had devastating effects on her body and mental health, and the singer never fully regained the stability she once had. Her life became a reminder of how complex the fight against addiction is, especially when fame and success can create an even more dangerous environment for those already facing personal challenges. Whitney Houston left behind a musical legacy that remains immense, but she also left a testament to the dark realities of addiction and the price often paid for living under the public eye. Her story is one of talent, fame, struggle, and ultimately tragedy. Though her life was marked by the fight against drugs, her music and voice endure as a testament to what might have been, had circumstances been different. Addiction, though it destroyed her, could never erase the mark Whitney left on the world of music.